Hi again. We will be starting in a few moments as soon as we um, are able to resolve some of our technical issues.
speak for me for a second? Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Hello.
I see Tom.
We hear you.
Thank you.
I'll try. Where's the number to log in?
Okay. We are still having some issues, but we're going to try to attempt to start the meeting. It is 5:44 now. So, good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the Community Redevelopment Agency hybrid regular meeting. Today is Monday, September 13th, and it is 5:44. Call the roll, please.
Chair James,
Here.
Vice Chair Salvino,
Here.
Board Member Davis,
Here.
Board Member Llewellyn,
Here.
Board Member Odman,
Here.
CRA Director
Can you
Chen,
hear me? Okay, yeah, here.
see you. City Attorney Ansbro.
Tom is
Tom,
muted. Tom S is muted.
okay. Okay, everyone's present. The first item on our agenda will be citizens' comments. If you are an attendee and you wish to speak, please raise your hand and you will be recognized, and you have 3 minutes. I did have one submission and he just raised his hand from Alexis Gillian. If you can please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Alexis Guillen. I live at 4410 Southwest 26th Avenue here in Dania Beach. I just wanted to address one item on today's agenda. with regards to affordable housing or low-income housing, just because there's the you know, I had to research it myself because I always thought the two were synonymous, but no, affordable housing has a much higher income need than low income housing. And here in Dania Beach, there's still a dire need for low income housing so that we can ensure that our residents don't end up on the streets. So I wanted to address um, the memo at home proposal for the at home Dania Beach, because I saw that the city is considering building on some city-owned parcels, and I just wanted to be a voice for the need of having more low-income housing available within our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Tremina. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tremina Blake. I'm currently residing at 29 Northwest 4th Avenue, but I have been awarded the home at 40 Northwest 14th Ave in Dania. My issue that I'm having is that I was awarded the house back in April. I was expected to close in June, but I have not been able to close because there is a current lien on the property that the city and the title company has not been able to resolve. The lien is in the amount of approximately $5,700, $5,700. But for some reason, that lien has not been paid, and the title company is saying one thing, and the city CRA attorney team is saying another. This is really putting a hardship on other areas in my life. I'm not able to touch my credit. I cannot turn in my car that I currently lease. Is a domino effect that this has been prolonged for so long, and the lien has not been paid and resolved. So this is why I have joined you guys today to speak on this and see how we can get this $5,700 lien paid for and resolved so I can close on the house.
Thank you. I am going to ask Mr. Chin and or the city attorney to help me digest this because I have been following this situation and I am still a little um, unresolved as to what we are doing. From what I knew, we were supposed to pay the lien because I know that it was Tim Ryan's office that did not catch the lien. And although he is our consultant, there is a $5,700 lien. Are we planning to pay that? And how are we planning to move forward? It has been several months. And as we are all hearing, it does affect different areas of one's life. So I need to know the game plan and we need to be able to enact something sooner than later. So Mr. Chin.
Okay, well, I was wondering, Tom, would you prefer to lead this conversation from the legal perspective?
I can only tell you that Tim Ryan has been trying to prove to the title company that the lien is invalid. They insist it is valid. We are at a loggerheads about it, and we're trying to break the disagreement.
Well, how do we break the disagreement or can we just pay the lien and get our money back? Is that an option?
I don't think we could,
Move forward.
it's not likely that we could get the money back. We're trying to negotiate a settlement of the lien. That's pending. And that title company has been looking at that. We haven't heard back from them. We're trying to settle it, but if we pay it, we're not going to be able to get the money back.
Okay. I mean, what would you recommend for someone that's in our situation that was supposed to close several months ago, and now we're saying we're at a stalemate, but someone's life is affected by the $5,700?
We could perhaps work with Mr. Ryan to put the money in escrow and dispute it later and let her close. That's an option that may work, and we'll go for that tomorrow.
Okay. Is there something that you need from the board? Any
No,
type of support?
no. As long as everybody understands that's what is holding us up. We've explained why their lien is no longer valid. They don't agree with it. They're wrong. We've insisted we are correct. And so perhaps putting into escrow is a way to resolve it and let her close. But I have to work
Okay,
with Mr. Ryan. I have to work with Mr.
I'll
Ryan
ask
to
the
do.
board. Sorry, I think it's a little delayed, but I'll ask the board if anyone has any issues with doing that so we can try and move forward with Mrs. Blake's, um, request to have this resolved so that she could obtain, ownership of her home. I don't see that there are any issues with that. So, Tom,
Okay,
can we please move forward with that?
we will proceed to do that tomorrow, right away.
Thank you. Any more hands for comments? All right, we'll move along to the administrative reports. Mr. Chen?
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, and community members who chose to attend. The first item is just kind of a quick update on our Dania Beach Business Academy. I mentioned to you that we had pretty outstanding results for our launch that occurred in July. In your packet, you will see there is a copy of a half-page newspaper ad that was placed in the Dania Beach Press, recognizing our graduates and our partner agencies for the course. This is part of what we promoted, that we would recognize our graduates. The CRA is working with a number of businesses trying to establish some type of more formal grand opening event for them, including Cucina Italia at Dania Point. They are trying to get prepared for opening, and we will work with them for a grand opening event when that occurs. The 7-Eleven Gas Plaza on Sterling Road is also working with us to plan a grand opening event. Grandpa's Bakery and Deli is working with us to do a grand opening. The date that is critical, that's part of this, is that Carol Grandpa, one of the original owners of the restaurant, is being solicited to come and participate in the grand opening to add memory to the event. We need to get her scheduled to set the grand opening date. The Sprouts Market, I've gotten a number of calls over several months trying to get an idea when this is opening. It looks like they're scheduled for October 26th. And we have had conversation with them to see if we could create some kind of relationship between Sprouts and the Patch so that we could provide some of the non-GMO and organic produce that's grown at the Patch with them. We are working with the AC Hotel to do a tour that will help us better understand their facility and give us a chance to better promote them through their grand opening as well. The Oasis Point residence is happening a topping off ceremony on Friday, September 17th. It's been a limited invitation only event. And I understand all of the commissioners have been invited. That will be good. That will give everybody an idea of the entire mass of the building. From here on, it will simply be completing the dry end and the facade walls. Through many of our contacts with our businesses, both new openings as well as existing business, there is a fairly constant anxiety that's expressed. People are having trouble hiring staff for their businesses. I have reached out to CareerSource, and under the brand of the Dania Beach Business Academy, we're going to host an event to introduce our businesses to the resources and services of CareerSource, and do an online registration process to try to connect as many of our businesses as possible to the biggest resource for staffing that's available to us. Again, it won't necessarily increase the number of people who out there who might be available for jobs, but it'll put our business in contact with those who are out there. In terms of our strategic communications and social media outlets, We are doing business programs and incentives. We're promoting our business programs and incentives through our platforms, whether it be Facebook or through our emails, as well as our website. On our website, we've had over 53,000 unique impressions and over 65,000 in total, which includes repeat hits and multiple visits. The Patch Garden had nearly 10,000 unique visits to their website, with 50% of them returning the page more than once. So that is not just a casual or an accidental hit on their website. It's actually people looking to see what they're doing and how they can become engaged. During Q2 of this year, the CRA website had a 55% increase in page views over the previous year. And we're getting traffic from as far away as Virginia, California, Ohio, and Texas. We've also updated our Dania Beach Arts and Seafood Celebration website in anticipation of hosting that event in April. We're trying to get a jump start on letting people know that it's going to be an event. Okay, and we've also been reintroducing Dania Beach After Dark to let people know that this is an event that will be coming back as well. We promoted a number of our businesses through our resources, to name a few: the American Maritime Officers, the Casino at Dania Beach, AMC Cinemas, Canino's Karate and Boxing Studio, Ocean's 13 at Dania Beach, the Fresh Squeeze, the Dania Rexall Pharmacy, Joe's Wood Grill, Dania Point and Night Market, Ideal Food Basket, the Fish Grill, Historic Dockers Restaurant and Pub, Sherry Kaplan, the Associated Medical Group, Wamoda, and Three Sons Brewing. So I'm proud to say that I've seen a significant step up of businesses that we've been able to try to promote and at least highlight through our various resources. The Patch is in the process of preparing for their fall season. There's pictures again in your platform with some of the things that are going on there. Just to let you know, as an update, several months ago, we advised you that through the resources of a personal grant, or a private grant, I should say, we were able to buy some sorry, it's a long word, some composters to prepare and improve soil. It's a warm growing environment, and those are up and running and doing very well. We have been receiving contracts for some of our soils and so forth. We are receiving lettuce and basil from Florida Urban Farms, which is a hydroponic farm in Southwest Ranches. Mr. Carroll has distributed that produce to a local church for distribution to seniors and youth groups. We also have had a group of second-year medical students from Nova Southeastern University that have been volunteers at the Patch. I have to advise that the volunteer program at the Patch has been very limited. We're still experiencing some reservations and inhibitions from COVID. Our USDA grant is winding down, and we've been looking at how to expend as many of the remaining funds as possible through the legal expenses that grant can cover. We have been working with a team to look at perhaps buying a generator for our mobile trailer that will help when we're able to go mobile again with our food farms. They're ready to roll when the pandemic is ready. The trailer has been serviced, and we're looking for the opportunity to start that mobile side of the Patch again, as soon as COVID will allow that to happen. I had mentioned to you in our last meeting about our joint venture for vertical hydroponic gardening. We in fact hand delivered our grant application to the Florida Department of Agriculture, applying for a $50,000 grant to initiate that program. And I mentioned, I sent all of you an email over the weekend to advise you that it did come to my attention. I apologize, it's a bit late, but nonetheless, we need to see about what we can do to schedule a CRA workshop to discuss the upcoming and proposed CRA budget. Okay.
Would you like us to do that now?
I think it would be a good time to, yes.
Why haven't we done this months ago? This is a question for me because this is really late in the game.
Well, I understand it is late in the game. Numbers were not available months ago. This could have happened 2 weeks ago very easily. Unfortunately, I was given kind of short notice that this is a typical practice. And so, unfortunately, it is a little bit late, and I apologize for that.
Okay. I mean, it's the reason why I'm asking this because it's going to be very difficult for us to really um, champion what we may have wanted to see as far as programs or projects or anything else that would then affect the budget for the city. Because now everything that is going to happen, or if we want it changed, it would have to change the city's budget, which we don't want to do. You know what I mean? So it has been the practice to try and do the CRA before the city, since the city allocates the funding to the CRA. Uh, how how soon are you trying to have this? What are your suggestions for workshop dates?
Well, between finance and the CRA, we have a proposed budget that we have structured together. So this could happen as quickly as it'd be feasible to put out a public notice as to the workshop.
What are your all schedules to be able to do this workshop? Virtually, I assume. It has to be before the 28th meeting.
And yes, that is actually this is a two-part request. I was also going to ask if we could actually have a short session on of the CRA meeting on September 28th. So in fact, you could approve a CRA budget at the same day that you're approving the city budget.
Okay, that just puts us in a difficult situation again from really dissecting it and figuring out what we really want. It was kind of like our backs are against the wall and we have to just accept whatever it is because now we're really on a time constraint. It's really difficult. So I don't know if we want to do it on the 28th since we already have a commission meeting and kind of treat it like a CRA meeting and treat it like a workshop. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, we have one, two, three. Oh, sure. So you guys want 5 o'clock? What, 5? Frank, I'll ask Frank because we can't see. Frank, hi. A question has come up. Having the meeting on the 28th, right before the commission, it really gives you difficulty if we changed anything in there to approve a budget. Then what is your recommendation?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. What I would say is that if there are any changes that could potentially happen to the city budget, I would suggest that we just adopt the city budget as is, and any changes that you would like to make that might require more city funding for the new budget year, we could do it as a budget amendment in October. Because that would just be cleaner to adopt the city budget because it will already have been advertised in the newspaper before the 28th meeting. But that's not to say that if you wanted to provide more funding from the city, you couldn't. It would be much simpler and straightforward if we just do a budget amendment in October to provide any additional funding that you think is necessary for the CRA.
How do we know how much of a cushion we may have?
Well, well, you mean in the city budget?
Yeah, so say for instance, if we go to the CRA workshop, just for numbers sake, and we decided to do projects that equaled up to, I don't know, $100,000, that really changes things for the city's budget. Not saying that that's the intent, that's not my intent. What I'm saying is we never know what can happen at the CRA budget workshop. So what number is a cap of you can't go over or this will not work?
Again, it's really up to your discretion. There's currently a surplus in the city budget. For the first time, we're actually adopting a budget with a pretty healthy surplus. As we discussed, that was to ensure that we had funding available to pay for the Parks Master Plan debt service. So currently is around a $1.3 million surplus built into our general fund budget. So again, you definitely have some leeway there if you wanted to provide additional funding toward the CRA.
Okay, thank you. So then 5 o'clock on the 28th works for everyone. I see everyone shaking their head. No one has. Does that work for you, board member Ottman? Yes. Okay. Mr. Chen, does that work for you?
Of course it does. And just for a quick clarification, the 5 o'clock meeting on the September 28th, would that be a regular CRA board meeting or would that simply be a workshop meeting?
It would be a workshop meeting. We don't have an additional CRA meeting, I don't believe, this month. Do we, Tom? No. Do we have another regular CRA meeting on the 28th? No, we only have them once a month typically.
Oh,
So that'll
okay.
just be a workshop.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Does that complete your report?
It does.
Okay. We have no presentations. Consent agenda, do we have any polls? We have a motion? We have a motion. We have a motion from board member Llewellyn and a second from vice chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Oh, no, that's no problem. Well, when you cut your sound on, Great. Now we'll go to proposals and bids. 6.1.
It's a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Community Redevelopment Agency, the CRA of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the award of request for proposal RFP number CRA 21014 to Atlantic Studios, Inc. to provide production and management services related to the Dania After Dark events, authorizing the proper CRA officials to enter into an agreement in an amount not to exceed $117,600, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Okay, I have several questions about this item. I see that it is a number from $117,600. What, and this is the same company that did Dania After Dark before, correct?
That's correct.
So I do understand that there would have been some type of increase, but $48,000, which equals a 70% increase. And I looked at both of the proposals and the scope is almost identical. So
Yes.
I'm not sure, are we doing this just because they were the only company that answered the RFP and we're just giving them what they asked for? Did we negotiate this funding, and what is different that is costing us $48,000 more when it was just $69,000 before?
Okay. So first of all, while we are in the RFP period, active period, I am not allowed to speak with the company. So no, there's been no conversation. This reflects the company's proposal without any input from what they've done at the time that they made their proposal. I would doubt they would have any idea if there would be any competitors to their proposal or not. So it has been done as a formal and correct RFP process. Basically, if you look at this on a per event basis, in the previous contract, first of all, the previous contract was initially set for price over 3 years ago. So it's not just that there's been a significant increase in price and cost over the past year, but you have to look at this. What kind of price increases have there been over the past 3 years? Um, if you look at the scope of work in this contract, it includes, for instance, the leasing of a stage, the assembly and disassembly of a stage. It's providing generators on site. It's providing Broward Sheriff's Office security. I have been advised that this event, Broward Sheriff's Office, requires higher levels of security for our event than other events that they service in the area. Um, so, again, could there be a negotiation to reduce the price? I don't know, because according to our RFP process, I'm not allowed to speak with them until we close the bid.
Was there any clause in the RFP that allowed for negotiation?
No, but there is a lot of language in the RFP as well as in the proposed contract that basically requires us to do a lot of coordination work together. And this is something that I would really think is at the heart of this whole issue. It's one thing about the price, but it's a whole nother thing to understand how they plan to address a lot of issues, including the coordination of a lot of the players. It was a requirement that they coordinate with the Arts in the Hall event that happens concurrently. But also, I think it's very important, particularly at this price of $9,800 per event versus $5,800 event from 3 years ago. I think it becomes substantially more important for us to understand how we handle rain days and those types of things. All of these things are things that should be discussed as we, before we would actually finalize the contract that's reflected from their proposal.
Okay, I have two more questions before I allow others to who have their hands raised to speak. Um, again, the scope of work is the same as it was 3 years ago. So again, I am unsure why we went from 56 to $9,800. And then the second question, or what I've noticed, is when you brought us art and seafood, that number was the same as it's been several years for the art and seafood. So that number has not changed, although we didn't even have art and seafood last year. So that number didn't have to change, and that number is the same for the production of other parts of it. I, I just, maybe it's a city attorney question. I am just uncomfortable giving them $9,800 because it's been 3 years and the scope of work is the same. It has not been anything outside of, we've discussed rain delays before. So it's not something that I am seeing that is worth $9,800 in our inability to be able to negotiate.
Yeah.
What is the scope exactly the same, or okay, go ahead, Tom.
Yes, since they're the only bidder, I think you conditionally award pending successful negotiations, including reduction of the price, clarity on rain days, and all these other things that are not addressed. So it's helpful that they're the only bidder to do that. And if you're not happy with the renegotiated price and the work, then we have to rebid it.
Okay, I'm more comfortable with that. I can move on.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Tom said, the city attorney said that we could approve with a stipulation that we are going to negotiate a price. And if we are not comfortable with the price that is being negotiated, we would go back out to bid. Board Member Davis, go ahead. I'll mute mine. You can unmute yours.
I just,
Who else has their unmuted?
okay, thank you. That the price was my concern as well. It seems like it was almost doubled, but I wanted to see if there was an option. It's my understanding that this is supposed to happen once a month, every month for 12 times throughout the year. Do we have an option of having less events if the price is not able to be negotiated?
The RFP was written as this being a monthly event. If I am free to actually initiate discussion about the proposal and what we would be comfortable contract with, I can certainly explore perhaps every other month or, some options. Again, if you just give me some ideas through your discussion as to the types of things you would like me to explore in my discussions with them, and I'm happy to pursue all the avenues.
I would be comfortable with either every other month or possibly quarterly. I think in light that everybody's had to pivot. I know back in the previously we had it once a month, but times have changed, and so I think that we don't necessarily have to have it once every month. So I'm open to either once every other month or quarterly.
Okay.
Any more discussion?
There we go. Okay. So I had the same concerns about the cost, and it has doubled. Um, I would be in favor of either doing it every other month or doing it once a quarter as well, just to keep the costs where they should be. The other thing that I had concerns about was in the contract that is there, there is no discussion about rain delays. And although I know I brought it up several times in the past, there was never a rain delay clause in the contract in the past either. And there were a lot of times that we had these events going on that either canceled at the last second or that did go forward, and there was hardly anybody there when it was raining. And it impacts the vendors too. And we don't want to end up in a situation where the vendors aren't seeing the flow of traffic that they need to see, because we're going to lose those vendors. And then you won't necessarily get the same quality of vendors that we had in the past. So those are a couple of things that I think need to be included and need to be addressed as far as negotiations are concerned. But that's all.
Okay, thank you.
What I would suggest is if after 5 o'clock on the 28th, if we have time, maybe we can all share our ideas, or Mr. Chin, you can come back then and kind of discuss some of the other things. And, before you can formally bring it back to us, you'll have our thoughts and you'll be able to bring us something back as well, if we have time on the 28th.
Well, I've been anxious to talk with the company about their proposal, and I've just been kind of restricted because of the process of the RFP. So now with your approval to do so, I will immediately reach out and start conversations with the company.
Okay, so we need a motion for, I guess I'll make the motion. Oh, Vice Chair.
Can you hear me now?
You don't need that one. The vice chair is asking, and I guess this goes to Tom. The vice chair is asking if we can get out of the cone of silence so he can negotiate and maybe look around and see if we have anyone else that would like to submit. But I'm almost sure that it's too late to do that.
It's too late to go and negotiate with other people that did not respond. It is permissible to now speak with this vendor because it came to the board. That released it from the cone of silence.
Yes, yes. Um, Board Member Ottman, did you have your hand up? I don't think so. Frank?
Thank you, Mayor. I've been told by procurement that there's definitely some room for negotiation with this response that we received.
Okay, thank you. So we would need a motion to approve this, this resolution or this proposal with the exception of a negotiated amount that will be approved by the board. Is that correct, Tom? Did I word it right?
Yes, again, even the way the resolution is written, it's not to exceed 117.6. That's still okay because it won't exceed that. And then you're
Right.
now subject to having something less is fine, as well as terms clarified.
Okay, awesome. So
I'll move to approve it with the stipulation that we need to negotiate further.
do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, discussion and possible action. At Home Dinghy Beach.
Uh, yes, this is a continuation of discussions that had been the subject in I think two past CRA meetings. Basically, we've discussed all of the parcels that the CRA owns. We have identified that there were potentially 6 parcels that could be put out to build houses, single family houses on. Since our last discussion, I have actually been able to get surveys on the properties in question. And in fact, I found out that of the 6 properties that have been discussed to put out on RFP, 5 of them are indeed could be considered buildable. One of the 6 properties, it's highly questionable that in fact it could be buildable. Its actual dimensions, it is 37.5 feet wide. It's a corner lot. And according to the architect that I discussed with this, for a corner lot, it really needs to be approximately 50 feet wide to get the appropriate setbacks and so forth. So based on that, the property at 524 Northwest 3rd Terrace really is not buildable. So there are 5 properties that I'm proposing to put out on RFP. The recommendation that has been made in this is that we put the 5 parcels, which is sites 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. All of them are listed on the table of the memo that I wrote for this. And that basically we would seek the highest and best proposed acquisition price from an experienced, qualified builder developer. With the caveat that whatever that price might be for a qualified buyer, that we may be willing to defer the payment on this protected by second mortgage, so that the purchase price could actually be paid at the sale of the home instead of at the front end of the home, to make it easier to develop a house within these affordable standards. My recommendation is that we put these out for workforce attainable housing, defined as 120% Broward AMI for each site. General descriptions of the houses to be developed would be a minimum of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family house on each site. The developer is responsible for all site preparation, engineering, design, building permits, construction, financing, and all development costs of the properties. All of the houses must be built by licensed general contractor with valid state of Florida and or Broward County general contractors licenses. Finished houses must include all the appurtenances, fixtures, and improvements. The developer is responsible for engaging a home buyer training program, and to pre-qualify 120% AMI qualified buyers. They are responsible for identifying and pre-qualifying those buyers. And as the last piece, that the CRA would provide a $10,000 down payment assistance programs to public service workers in the fields of police, fire, EMT, healthcare, or education in an institution or organization located within Broward County. And that's the broad terms of my recommendation.
Hi, well, I have several concerns or issues and questions. What is the area medium income for the CRA area? What is the average AMI for that area?
Uh, you asked the question in a different way than I expected it. Basically, a home price based on a 120% AMI would be $265,000.
I'm asking what is the average AMI or the average income of the individuals or the residents living in the CRA area?
We don't have that information. That kind of information is not actually available just on a CRA basis. I do have data on the average household income citywide.
Okay, what is that?
Well, let me see if I can find it in front of me.
Okay, I'll ask a different question.
Okay.
When we did these homes in the past,
Yes.
we were able to offer $10,000 down payment, $10,000 down payment assistance, and then the county we were able to leverage that with the county with their resources for an additional $10,000. The county, do you know what the county requirements are for?
Yes.
What is the county requirements?
I have checked with the county on this, and there are no matching fund. There are no program for down payment assistance on this type of housing.
Is there assistance or down payment assistance for housing whose AMI is 80%
Yes, there is.
with the county?
Yes, there is.
Okay. And then what is the okay, so what is the AMI for low income housing? That's 80%?
At 80%, basically the housing that is under sale now that was developed for 80% AMI, the maximum price on those houses is $212,000.
Okay. So these homes are in the CRA area. And from my understanding and from my experience, the people in the CRA area will not be able to afford workforce housing, which is 120% AMI. And I'm looking at, when I spoke with you, you said we needed more diverse housing. I sit up here and we sit up here and we approve project after project after project. That is not low income. That is nowhere near close to 80% AMI. And so it's very hard for me to wrap my brain around why we would go towards workforce housing in this area where the income, cannot sustain that type of housing. And so I'm trying to figure out what the difference for housing for low income versus workforce is, and why are we putting stipulations in place that they must be a police officer, EMT, or educator in order to obtain these homes? We took those stipulations, I thought, off of the other homes that are workforce slash market rate, which are the Smith store houses, correct?
I haven't seen any stipulations about EMT or fire or anything like that at all. And
Correct.
those are also proposed to be workforce attainable housing.
Okay, so if we already have workforce attainable housing in the CRA, which is 3 homes that still have not been built, why is there a recommendation for these additional 5 homes to not be 80% AMI when we know that right now it's unaffordable for anyone to buy a home right now? The housing market is sky high through the roof. And so who are we trying to invite in the communities, or who are we trying to help if we're not helping the people that actually live in that community? We haven't even satisfied all 6 homes in the past because we still have a lien. out, as we just saw a resident come in and speak on that. But I'm definitely not in favor of workforce housing. I'm in favor of whatever you want to call it is 80% AMI so that the residents can also obtain funding from the county because that will take their down payment assistance from $10,000 to $20,000. So whatever you want to call it, as long as it's meeting those stipulations, I am in favor of that. And I definitely want to take the stipulations off of they have to work in police, EMT, or education. We haven't even said anything about our veterans in any of this at all. And I remember us saying that we wanted to include something like that in there. So is it going to be any stipulation or anyone that has an advantage? It definitely should be someone who has served our country.
Okay. Um, Part of the discussion about 120% AMI housing, workforce attainable versus 80% AMI. Part of that discussion was, it actually went back about a month or so ago when we discussed about the housing cost, the cost of building housing. And in fact, according to the Miami-Dade Housing Foundation, that absent a construction subsidy, it is not feasible to build 80% AMI housing in the construction cost market today. It is feasible to build workforce attainable housing based on current construction costs. That was something we discussed in one of our earlier sessions when we were talking about this. So part of this is not just a question about how do we offer up the property, but frankly, is it feasible for someone to build housing today at 80% AMI standards?
Did we research that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I would like to just sit on that then. I
Okay.
definitely would not like to, just because the housing market is where it is today, it can definitely change in a year. It can change in 6 months. We don't know. But to just say, because it's expensive to build homes, we're going to build more expensive homes in the community where the AMI for that is 60,000. The household income is $60,000 for that community. And if you have to make $60,000 to get a low income home in that community, how much do you think they would have to make to be able to afford workforce housing? You would have to get almost six figures, and that's just not feasible for that community. I think that we have a lot of other areas that could benefit from that, but this area, I'm not comfortable doing that. And again, we already have the market rate or the workforce housing that is going to happen on Smith Store properties that have been there for a few years now, before you came, and they have not been built. So I don't know how everyone else feels. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair. Uh, you know, I understand where you're coming from. I told you the last time we had the meeting, I would support anything that if you had an answer for it. I think you're asking him for answers that it's hard for him to give you because of the ever-changing times that we have. Um, the bigger the Dania Beach gets in the areas in the CRA district where there's a lot of vacant land that is privately owned, that's going to eventually probably be built. And when it gets built, the values are going to go up even higher again. I do know that the cost of building today used to be, you could probably build a house, you can call any of your contractors that we all know, they'll tell you that you could probably build a house for about $85 to $90 a square foot cost. And now you're up to about 130, maybe $140 a square foot. As we grow and the area changes and the vacant land that's available in the CRA, I can't see how that'll ever change to do that type of housing that's going to be affordable other than possibly the affordable housing. When you have a nurse or a doctor, nurse or an EMT or a school teacher that is in the high two figures, I think that when they have an opportunity to, did I lose it? Okay, when they have an opportunity to put their income together, affordable housing is there. If not, and it gets to that point, then what maybe we should do is sell the lots and put the money into the CRA general funds, and then maybe we can use those funds for something to do that can better the community of the CRA district. I just hate to see that the value of the property, which I don't see it going down, go to waste while we have an opportunity to do either the affordable housing or sell the lots to put the money back in the CRA for general fund use. That's my opinion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Chim.
Yes, I have been looking up some of the information that you requested. Um, the 120% AMI for Broward County represents an income of approximately $63,000 to $64,000 per year. And the median household income in Dania Beach for 2021 is approximately 54,000.
Okay, so the 63,000, what's the household size? Because I'm looking at something also from the county that says a 3-person household size, 80% area median income is $63,000. So I'm not sure what information that you have, but for a
Yeah.
3-person household, it's $63,000 at 80% AMI. And
Yeah.
I'm listening to the dialogue that's happening, and if everything else is going up, and it's becoming more expensive, it makes it even harder for someone in the CRA to be able to afford a home. And unless we can put some type of a deed restriction that would restrict them from, because if we sell the lot, they can build whatever they want to build on there, however expensive that they want to build it on there. And then we're still at the same issue that I'm kind of having now, which is the people that we are supposed to be serving in that community cannot benefit from anything that we are doing with this project because they can't afford to do so. So if it's 3 people, a couple and their child, the income comes to $63,000, and that's at 80%. So I don't know what the number is for 120%, but that's at 80%. So I'm unsure where those numbers are kind of coming from, but I don't know if we should table this. I would like, Vice, Board Member Llewellyn.
Sure. I just wanted to add something to the discussion. And Mr. Chen, I don't know if you can help with this or not. I don't know. I'm not, I know we talked about this a little bit before, but I'm not sure if I understood correctly. If we're selling the properties, I do believe you said we could put a deed restriction that basically says that they have to only build specific types of housing at certain levels so that we can make sure that that's what occurs. So that's, I'm not worried about that. My question is, if that money is coming back to the CRA for selling those particular properties, do we have to just limit it to the $10,000 for down payment assistance, or could we increase the amount of down payment assistance that would be able to help these individuals that are looking at the houses?
You can set the parameters of the incentive in any fashion that you like. Certainly. In fact, under the previous program for 80% AMI housing, the total down payment assistance was $20,000. Okay.
Right.
That could be set for these houses as well. And,
Okay.
and by the way, the proposal of this was for family of 4 housing, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, family of 4 is the house size that was based on the standard that I gave.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. Part of what was just said there kind of makes some of it makes a little sense. If you take and if we sell the lot and the lot just says if we're getting $11 a square foot for a lot, and we make the sale with the restrictions on what we're talking about, you're talking about a lot that's about $65,000. And right now they could make. I know there's developers out there that can actually build probably a 1,400 square foot home, which is a decent 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and they could build that home for about 180,000 on top of the 60. That's 240. That's closer to the 220 you're talking about when you talk about either low income or not. And then if we do raise the 10,000 to 20,000, I think they can make it.
That's very good. And that goes back to the reason that we did it like that in the past is because we didn't have to put out the additional $10,000 because that was an issue about us giving so much to down payment, but instead we made sure that they were able to go to the county.
Right. But but now we're getting more money. We're not giving the lot away. We're taking the money from the lot sale and putting it back into the CRA. So we have that extra money to do a little bit. We're still cutting our losses in half by giving a lot away, saving some of the taxpayers' money to put back in the CRA and still be able to build that house at that price. I think our goal here is to also maybe put a restriction on, like the deed and what they can build, get out there and get a couple of the developers to make offers on certain lots of how much you can build a lot, of how much you can build a house, a 1,400 square foot house, and how much can you build it for. There's so many different houses online that even the narrower lots you can look at and make those lots work. And I think that you can put something together, and I really feel that they can build that house in that area and negotiate it down. Some of the prices are dropping, some of the lumber prices are dropping, but I still think that we can do this by selling lots, maybe giving an extra 10,000 if we have to, still make extra money out of the lot sale, and still make it low income housing or possibly even affordable housing.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm liking a little bit what I'm hearing. I know that also the last time that we raised $120,000, we didn't even pay that. So we kind of our previous CRA executive director went out and got $120,000 in sponsorships to be able to give to those down payment assistance. And so all of them got $20,000 from us. In addition to whatever they could have gotten from the county. Well, my suggestion would be to, after the budget process is over, to have a workshop on this and really be able to hammer out things and all come to a consensus of what is best.
We can bring numbers at that time too. We can bring numbers back at that time.
Right, and then we'll be able to have a lot more information in front of us, and I will be much more comfortable than in definitely taking off you have to be a firefighter, EMT, or educator. Whoever qualifies under whatever we have, they qualify. Because I think the person that's cleaning the toilets is just as important as the person that's doing a different type of job, in my opinion. So, are we okay with tabling this and doing a workshop after the budget process is complete?
I'm good with that.
Yes, we have a yes. Okay, awesome. Mr. Chen, we'll get back, or could you get back with us after the budget process is complete to come up with the workshop date for this?
Sure.
Thank you. The next item is the commercial improvement grants.
Yes. So at our last meeting that this was discussed, we talked about some different terms and conditions. Among this is to change the program from just Federal Highway and East Indian Beach Boulevard corridors to the entire CRA. I also recommended that we increase the benefit from $20,000 to $25,000. There was a discussion between a 50% match from the property owner versus a 30% match from the property owner. Between Chair James and Vice Chair Salvino, it was kind of worked out that if a building was if a business in that building was less than 3 years old, they would only be required to do a 30% match. So basically, I drafted the program with the consideration of the discussions and so forth that we went through. I will point out that there were a number of caveats that I put on this, and I think that they make good sense from a best practices perspective. Basically, it's under, on my memo, it's under the section 1. It's all commercial and retail properties within the CRA are eligible. The owner of the property must be the applicant, and that is a requirement because we put a lien on the property to enforce ongoing covenants. That can only be done with the property owner. The application must include the owner's ownership and so forth, photographs of the site and structures, a detailed budget, and so forth. The important thing is that what is not qualified, because I understand there was some concern about just going out and providing money to people who perhaps did not need it. And so the the program would not qualify for buildings within a project that is or was supported by the CRA, city, or Broward County under a development agreement or incentive. So it's not an incentive to another incentive. It cannot be a building within a group of retail stores and service establishments commonly referred to as a shopping center. Properties that are for sale are not qualified for the grant. The idea being that we weren't subsidizing someone to benefit from the sale of their property. The building organization within the tenant within the building and so forth could not be tax exempt. And I added this. This is something typical that the grants cannot be awarded on properties that containing adult uses as defined by Chapter 2.5 of our codes. So that is the limitation. What buildings would not be qualified. The idea is to make this as broadly qualified for buildings within the CRA as possible and still be fiscally responsible for the management of the money.
The only question I have with this, is there a reason we're not allowing a nonprofit to not be able to apply for this grant? Because there are some nonprofits like the Disability 211 or whomever that really do a lot of services, and we wouldn't allow them to apply for this grant. Why?
Yes, I would think that the reason behind it is that, first of all, this has been called a commercial improvement grant. In reality, it's a commercial facade grant. This is only available for exterior improvements. And the purpose of it is to improve the curb appeal of commercial corridors and so forth, and to make the businesses, I guess, to refresh the businesses and so forth from the curb appeal. That is more of an important element to the business in terms of normal retail and restaurant properties. Most people aren't doing business with nonprofits because they have curb appeal. It's because they're providing certain causes. And also, part of a tax exempt qualification would also include faith-based institutions and so forth. I don't think it's appropriate that we be using city tax dollars to support faith-based organizations. But again, that's up to you. That was my recommendation.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments on this? No? No? Yep, go ahead. Do you have any comments? No, okay. Do we have a motion in a second?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yep, all in favor?
Aye.
For the record, I need to abstain from the vote as a business owner in the CRA.
We got 3 without it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much. This allows us now
Aye.
to offer the program with these new conditions. And I will also work with, as I mentioned, part of this revamp process is to work with the city attorney's office and the finance department to try to find ways to streamline the application process so the CRA is not the hurdle and the thing that is inhibiting the progress of projects that are trying to happen. But as of now, we are able to operate under the new standards, and thank you so much. That's the end of my reports.
Wait, okay, that's board member comments. Board member Davis?
No comment.
Board member Llewellyn?
No comments in the interest of time.
Board member Ottman?
No comment. Thank you very much.
Vice Chair?
The only comment I have to make is to help progress for our next meeting on this topic we're talking about with the housing. With everybody's permission and Michael's position, I won't go out and do anything. I'm gonna check around because I'm in the process of building myself. So I'd like to get some prices to help suggest so we can get a little bit more information. I would recommend anybody that knows a builder or anything to try to get this together and see what we can do to move this along because I think it's time we develop the property. Okay. Thank you. That's all. That's my comments.
Thank you.
Sorry, no comments. We'll see you in about 9 minutes. And if you are attending the meeting here, there has been a new link for the commission meeting. So see you soon. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Can, can you hear it like this?
Yes.
Right, so maybe if the volume through my computer, I can just put this one so it's not an echo. It can't